Welcome back to part 2 of the Working with Anchored Objects tutorial. In this video, we will explore how to anchor an object to text within Indesign with custom position settings, rather than inline or above-line settings that we focused on in the previous video. We'll begin by taking a look at the document that was used in a previous video. If you recall, we placed a graphic placeholder within the text frame displayed, which I've now added a note icon into. As you can see, in this case, the anchored object is placed within the text frame as an inline graphic, and we know this because the graphic is aligned with the baseline of the text next to it. So the question is, what do we do if we want to make the graphic to be anchored to the text frame, but we don't necessarily want the graphic to be inside of the frame? Maybe we want the graphic to be positioned to the left or right of the frame. This will require us to create a custom position. First, select the anchored object, and then we'll display the Anchored Object Options dialog box by selecting the Object menu, selecting Anchored Object, and then selecting Options. Then, from the Position drop-down menu, switch the Inline or Above-line option to Custom. Notice that when we select Custom from the drop-down menu, a lot more options are available to us in regards to the specific position of the anchored object. The first option, Relative to Spine, specifies whether or not the object aligns relative to the document's spine. When you select this option, the Anchored Object Reference Point proxy displays as a two-page spread. In some cases, you may be wondering why the option to select Relative to Spine is not available and is grayed out. If you see that, the reason is that this option is not available because there is no two-page spread available within a current document. If you'd like to select this option, but again, you see that it's grayed out, double check to make sure you're working within a document that has a spread applied. The Anchored Object Reference Point specifies the location on the object that you want to align to the location on the page that will be specified within the Anchored Position Reference Point in a few minutes. For example, if you want to align the right side of the note icon with the page item, such as the text frame, click the rightmost point on the proxy, which is a small grid with 9 squares displayed next to the anchor icon. Notice that the bottom right-hand corner is selected in this example. Keep an eye on the note icon as I select the upper right-hand corner option, the center option, the left center option, the upper left option, the lower left option, and so on. The Anchored Position Reference Point specifies the location on the page to which you want to align the object. If you click the leftmost point of this proxy, the object's reference point, which we specified moments ago, will align with the left edge of the text frame and the baseline of the text. Once you have identified the Anchored Position Reference Point, you may choose to go back and change the Anchored Object Reference Point so that the object is positioned in a way that satisfies you. Notice the changes that occur when I select different anchored position reference points. X relative to specifies what you want to use as the basis for horizontal alignment. For instance, text frame lets you align the object to the left, center, or right of the text frame. As you can see, text frame is what's selected right now. But let's consider a new scenario. Right now I'm telling Indesign that I would like the right side of the anchored object to be aligned with the left side of the text frame. If I change the X relative to drop-down menu to page edge, the right side of the anchored object will position along the left edge of the page. Hopefully this demonstrates how the reference points work. Notice if I were to increase the X offset, I would be increasing the distance of the anchored object's right edge from the left edge of the page. Y relative to specifies what the object aligns with vertically. As you can see in this example, if you choose a line option, such as line baseline, the Anchored Position Reference Point displays only the middle horizontal row of points. I'm going to change this option to page edge just to demonstrate. Notice that once I change this option, the Anchored Position Reference Point proxy now provides me with more than just the center row of options. As I click around to change the reference point, notice that the right center of the object is being aligned with the position of the page edge that I'm specifying. Much like the X offset, increasing the Y offset will increase or decrease its position above or below the Y-axis reference point. The Keep Within Top/Bottom Column Boundaries option keeps the object inside the text column if free-flowing text would otherwise cause it to move outside of the boundaries. Because we're not working with columns, this option is not currently available for us to change. Once again, we have the option to ensure that you can't move the anchored object by dragging or nudging it on the page by selecting the Prevent Manual Positioning checkbox. To demonstrate when we return to the document, I'm going to select this box now. If you don't wish to preview the changes that you're making to the object within the document, you could simply uncheck the Preview checkbox. When finished, click the OK button. Once we click OK, we notice a couple of things. First, because we have selected the custom positioning for this anchored object, an anchor marker is displayed on the note icon. Next, because we checked the box preventing manual positioning of the object, notice that a lock icon is displayed as well. If I select this object and try to move it up and down by using the up and down arrows on the keyboard, notice that a warning box is displayed telling me that the object is locked. I'm going to go back to the Anchored Objects dialog box to remove the lock from the object. Notice now that the lock has disappeared. Now that we've created an anchored object, you can also display object markers in order to view the anchor's relationship to the text on the page. If you cannot see the anchor markers in the text, select the Type menu and ensure that Show Hidden Characters is displayed within the drop-down menu. Then select Show Hidden Characters. I'm going to zoom in on the anchor marker on the screen. Notice that where I initially positioned the anchor within the text frame now has what looks like the letter Y with an equal sign at its base. In this example, it's a bit hard to see. This is what's called an anchor marker. If you'd like to view a dashed line from an anchor mark to its associated custom positioned object, select the object, select the View menu, select Extras, then select Show Text Threads. Notice that a dashed line is now displayed, though it might be a little bit difficult to see in this example. Finally, if you're working with custom positioned anchored objects and you do not see the anchor symbol on the object, select the View menu, select Extras, and select Show Frame Edges if available. In this case, it says Hide Frame Edges because I'm already showing the frame edges. Finally, if you no longer want an object to move relative to its associated text, you can release it to remove its anchor. Simply select the anchored object with the Selection tool, choose the Object menu, select Anchored Object, and select the Release option. Keep in mind that Release doesn't work for inline or above-line objects. If you can't use Release, select the anchored object and then cut and paste it elsewhere. This concludes our tutorial on anchoring objects with text within Indesign. Keeping objects anchored to text is a great way to ensure that your objects move along with text and stay together. So be sure to review this video or the previous video in this chapter again if you have any lingering questions about how to successfully anchor an object to text within your Indesign CS6 document.